Go.
Welcome to Community Art with Sophie. We are an art making group for Gilda's Club Cancer Support Community. So I like to start my groups off with a little bit of time spent with our preserves jars. And our preserves jars look like whatever they look like. Everyone's is going to be different. You just need a jar and a lid, right? A jar and a lid. And so I've decorated mine with scraps from my life, some magazine pages and lots of fabric scraps because I've been making lots of masks. I've got lots of fabric. And then I also have pipe cleaners because I like them. And I have dancing bears. Also, I like those. So this jar is used to just record what we're going through, what we might want to preserve, what we're going to think back on and go, oh yeah, I remember that, because these are significant times. So I especially like to think about my appreciation. What is special that's happening? What will I might not remember if I don't take time to highlight it and focus on it. So for me right now, I'm going to preserve. I'm looking for my paper. I've misplaced it. I'll cut a new one. So what I'm going to preserve today is I'm going to preserve the fact that my brother is getting out of the hospital. He had heart surgery, and that's not going to be as significant for everyone, right? You might not have some giant thing, but there's going to be something in your life that you're going to want to make note of. And I'm just going to remember that he got out of the hospital, and it was today, which is April 19th. So that's what I'm giving. What are you thinking about? What do you want to preserve? What's going to go in your jar? And if you don't have a jar, I would suggest you just have a metaphorical jar. Let's take a moment to think about what we want to save. Okay. And now we begin. So today's project is going to be making window art. I've been thinking a lot about how we are living in our own boxes. Some of us live with other people. Some of us live with too many other people. Some of us are really living alone and encountering all sorts of different kinds of experiences, being isolated, being on our own. But we also live in a world full of people, and those people are going through the same global pandemic. I've been thinking a lot about what we can take, what we can find in ourselves and put on our windows to share and connect, even with people we don't know, just somebody who might pass our window walking their dog. So I learned something really, really cool. I think it's cool. Maybe you already knew. You can take a glue stick, a washable glue stick, Elmer's glue, or even the budget brand. If it's washable, it'll work. I've tested both. You can glue paper on your windows. So you can cut color and hearts and flowers and love and whatever makes you feel good, you can glue it on your window. So we're not going to do that today exactly, but I want you to know that that potential is there. And I will in the future be gluing things on my window, and I'll post them to probably Gilda's Facebook page and Instagram page. So Gilda's Club Chicago. Hopefully, if you check there sometime, you'll see some nice window art that is out there being broadcast from wherever I live. And hopefully wherever you live too. So because we aren't going to do that today, we aren't going to go directly to our windows. We're also going to, I'm going to show you how to make some art that is framed, right? So this is advertisements, you know, the circulars that come, and then tissue paper, so tissue paper if you've got it, and cereal box cardboard. So the first thing we're going to do that's an example of what we're gonna make. Yours isn't gonna look like that. Don't be intimidated. It can look better, worse. It can be simpler, more complicated. I don't know. It's gonna be fun. So what you're gonna need, you are gonna need some colored paper. If you don't have paper with color, just any paper. And don't tell me you don't have any paper, because I get these circulars like so often, like every week. Now they're no longer being thrown on my porch. They're now being thrown in everyone's yard, and I'm not sure the reasoning behind that, but I tell you, if you look for them, they're out there. Be sure and be safe with them, obviously. You know, go out there, rubbing alcohol. I've got a spray bottle of rubbing alcohol, and I'm spraying down the plastic bag that it comes in, and then I'll open up the paper and spray it down too. But I find those advertisements are really fun to work with because they're thin paper, so they're good for folding and cutting, and they're still pretty strong, and they have color. So some kind of paper. You can use construction paper, printer paper. Scissors. You definitely will need scissors today. If you can find a way to do this by just tearing carefully, post it on Instagram or Facebook and tag it Gilda's Club Chai. I would love to see. I want to see this. I'm not saying you can't, I'm saying I want to see it. So then you need scissors and a glue stick. Washable glue stick. Hopefully this will be easy to come by. I do try to make art that is accessible to everybody. I try to make it with materials that are easy to find. And so then the frames I already mentioned I make them with cereal boxes. So, you know, if you've got a cereal box, that's a good size. The thickness, it's a good size, right? The thickness is good because it's strong and yet it's easy to cut. If you've got even just a Kleenex box, we're gonna work with whatever you have. And I'm sure that we can find a way to make it work. So first thing we're gonna do is round up all of our materials, and then I'm gonna go over to my workstation, and we are going to learn some folding and cutting techniques to have fun with our patterns. Okay, see you over there. All right, so it worked. Now, one more moment. Okay, thanks for your patience, everyone. Now you can see that this is an example of just a couple of stars that I've cut. The first folding and cutting technique we're gonna do, we're gonna learn how to cut a 5-pointed star. And this 5-pointed star can be cut with just a printer paper size paper, right? So your construction paper is a bit larger, but the proportions work the same way. If you have an advertisement circular page, the proportions are different, so we will work with those later. Okay, so step 1, take your paper and have it, the lengthwise will be horizontal. I'm just gonna go left to right, and I'm gonna fold the paper in half, left to right. This is a taco fold, not a hot dog fold, right? Make that crease nice and sharp. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this with as few tools as possible. I have a ruler here. We're gonna pretend like nobody needs a ruler. I'm just gonna ignore my ruler. But I need to know where the halfway point is on this bottom edge. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring the corners together, and I'm gonna just line them up and give it a pinch. Now that has created a crease right there, halfway. I know exactly where the halfway point is. My top left corner, my folded corner, I'm gonna fold down and line it up with that crease that I just made. Now, crease that, Okay, our bottom is still right here. I'm going to take the left side, the folded side, and I'm going to fold this triangle that is visible here. I'm going to fold it in, making this point as sharp as possible. Make that point nice and sharp. Now, the top edge, folded edge again. I'm going to fold it, focusing on this point, staying sharp. And what I'll find is that this top edge lines up flush with the left edge here. And I should have a very nice pointy triangle when I'm finished. Now this nice pointy triangle is going to be what I'm going to cut my star from. One thing that I like to do, and I don't want this to confuse you too much, I like to take the top flap that I've just folded, open it, and make this short flap right here. See how this one's shorter? I'm going to make that visible on the top because this shortest edge is as far out as my star can go. If I make my star cut from up here, then one of the spines, one of the spires, the points, is going to be too short. So I'm going to I like to use a marker because I know it's not as visible. I don't have the best camera. I want you to see where my lines, where my folds are. Okay, so top flap, that's the last one I folded. If I open it, put the short one on top, it's going to look like that. So hopefully I have something that looks like this. This top right here, this short point, that's going to be where I start my cut, and it's going to be at an angle. Now, if I had cut so that it went straight across, that would not give me a star. But if I get a nice angle, like so, got this little short thing right here, and we unfold it. That angle determines, the angle at which I cut determines how pointy my star is. So now I've got a pointy star, and I might say, all right, that's great, but it's just a star. So maybe I want to have a little bit of ornate something happening inside of the star. I just kind of try to refold it. Just let it fold back up how it started. And then, I don't know, maybe I want to put a heart in here, right? Because we're talking about love today. And I imagine most of you know how to cut a heart out of a folded piece of paper. So we're just going to do that. Now I have a bunch of little tiny hearts, which I can do other stuff with. I can glue them on my window directly, right? Those can be nice little bits of decoration. And my star now is full of love. One more thing I'll show you. See this center here? If you want that to be open, it's very, very simple. If you cut at an angle, you're going to get another star in the center. Don't cut too close to the bottom of your heart because it'll just open the whole space up. And maybe that's okay too. We're pretty flexible here with what we're going to be happy with. So now I have a heart star. Okay, so that is our basic fold cut pattern. Some variations are going to be, I just want to show you here that you can take lots of variations. You can make it into a flower if you, instead of cutting at a point, you cut at a curve. Here's another one. Only this one I kind of played with and did hearts and things. So I want you to just experiment. Go ahead and play with it. Go ahead and play with it. But I'm going to show you one more folding pattern. And we're going to use our lovely circulars for this one because they are so thin and strong that they make really fantastic paper. Also, I feel like this is a time that we're sort of figuring out how to make do, right? Just figuring out how to separate paper from itself. All right, another page. Never mind that one. Here we go, I think I got one. All right. So these circulars are nice because if you get that crease, they tear very simply. Don't always need to cut everything, right? So now this is not going to work the same way. I'll run through our folding method. It does not have the same proportions, so we can't get our nice 5-pointed star when we fold it in half. Bringing this corner to the center does not bisect it in the right proportions. So what I like to do instead is fold it in half, right? So now we have a square of paper. And if we want to make a 6-pointed star, all we need to do, I'm going to try to make this as visible for you as possible. I'm going to bring one of these edges, and it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to fold it so that as it's creating 2 different triangles, these 2 triangles on each side are going to be equal to each other. So this one will be equal to this one. And I'm mostly just eyeballing it because I couldn't find my protractor this morning and we're getting by without tools today anyway. So that looks about right. Let's find out how right I am or how wrong I am. We'll make adjustments or just make do and be okay with it. So, all right, looking good. So now I have a very pointy triangle. Do the same thing again where I could cut this star, and if I wanted to cut a star, I would cut from this point at an angle to here, but instead, I'm gonna make a flower. So, what does that petal look like? Now I'm thinking about half of a petal, right? I'm not gonna cut just both sides of the curve. I'm gonna cut a half of a curve. So, let me try. What do you think? I don't know if that's going to work for us. Let's take a peek. Okay, that's not terrible. Now we have a flower, 6-petaled flower. Now, one thing I think about flowers is they often have a circular center if they're this style, daisy style, right? And the hard part about circles is getting that curve so it's gentle enough. But again, I'll just try it because what have I got to lose? And I've just cut a little angular circle. We'll see if it looks like a circle. Sometimes they look funny. All right, so there we go. Made a bit of a flower. Now, I just want you to go ahead and play with these cutting folding techniques until you come up with something that you like. And the nice thing about the size of these flowers and these stars is they tend to be working from this size paper, which is about 8.5 by 11, or the circular page, which tends to run a little bit bigger. Is these sizes are going to be big enough to fit nicely inside of a frame that is from a standard size cereal box. When I say standard, I don't know what standard is, but it's worked out pretty well for me. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, once I cut things, I tend to put them in a big heavy book to flatten them out for a little bit. And then once they're a bit flattened, I'm ready to glue them inside of my frame. So I'll now switch cameras. It looks like my workstation moved a little bit. Hi again. So to make the frame from the cereal box, this is a pretty easy thing to do, right? We just need to cut out a rectangle. And so here's my cereal box. I'm not promoting any kind of cereal. This is just what I have on hand. We're gonna cut out a rectangle. It's gonna look like this. And you're like, oh, Sophie, that's a beautiful rectangle. How did you get such a nice rectangle? Well, the first thing I did, and I'm teaching you how to do this all without any rulers, right? I took my box and then I cut it out because it's got a perfect rectangle. So once I cut it out, I then use a piece of paper or, maybe even just one of these side pieces. You can just use one of these edges, make a mark that's, at least an inch thick, maybe a little thicker. It might be, say, I might go with this size, right? I might want a thicker frame because then I can have smaller designs, smaller decorations. And then I'm going to make a mark all along. I should use a ruler or a marker so you can see. So I would make marks, and everyone knows how to do this. You just draw your little rectangle inside, your sub-rectangle. So I'm starting to make my marks, and then I will draw a rectangle that is nested inside of this rectangle. And each side will be the same distance. And then when I cut it out, I just cut right through the bottom. And you may have already noticed, but maybe you didn't. I just cut right through the bottom, right? I just go cut straight up from the edge, and then it's very, very easy to cut the rest of the rectangle out of the center. And then I take a little bit of paper and I make a Band-Aid and I stick it back together. So that's, can you see that now? See, it's already cut, but nobody can tell. So that's my sort of cheater method. If you want, you can gouge a hole in the center and then, do a little bit of extra work and cut out that center rectangle and not have it cut, but I don't think it's a problem. Then take my rectangle. I'm going to use this side as the back, and I just use my glue. First I glue in my structure, like the frame of this is a rose window now. So the frame I'll first glue in, and then if I'm using tissue paper, which I'm lucky enough to have because I've just got scraps of every bit of thing. So you don't need a lot of tissue paper, but you can see how small these little pieces are, right? So then I'll just fill in the spaces and glue them. I want to show you how messy the back is so that you know that it's not going to be too much of, you don't have to be really super careful. The back is messy, but it doesn't matter because if you get it up against some light, which I did not find a way to bring any backlight. Oh, I was going to test it with my flashlight. I wonder if that'll work. Here, let's test it together. All right. Now, where is that? I know I've got a flashlight on here, right? Oh, cell phones. Behave. There it is. Flashlight. There. All right, let's see if that works. No, it doesn't work that well. It's worth a shot. Okay. So anyway, it does look really lovely, especially in my window at night when the lights are shining through and it's dark outside. So that's the fun of it. And I think it'd be super cool if you did make some art, if you played with some of these ideas, take them and make them your own. Just, remember that there's it's just junk mail. It's just colored paper. There's no deep commitment, and just go easy on yourself. Just have fun with it. And then if you make stuff you like, put it up in the window and share your love with the world. And then take a picture of it and hashtag it, Gilda's Club Chai, Gilda's Art at Home, Gilda's Art Community, hashtag all of that. And then we would love to share it on Gilda's Club Chicago's Facebook pages and Instagram pages. And what else do we have? Do we have a Twitter? I don't think so. Maybe we do. Anyway, I would just love to share my art with the community and to see the community's art coming back. I would just love to see it being all over. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being playful and trying this with me, and sharing what you make with people who might need it. Bye.